And we're back to learning to code using freecodecamp.org. We're getting close to the end of the first section, which is about the responsive web design curriculum. We've got this penguin to do. It's a little bit longer and it introduces a couple of transform options or properties that we can use. This is the end result and it's interactive, so we can click on it and it's going to expand its size then. And you can see it waves its hand with an animation. Let us first in step 1 set up the basic HTML boilerplate that we already know. In step 2, we're targeting the body and we're going to give it a gradient. If you've forgotten, the way to write it is to use the background property, then define the gradient type, afterwards the direction, in this case 45 degrees, and then the 2 colors that we want to use. Obviously make sure that you don't have any typos. Let's set margin and padding to 0 in step 3. In step 4, we're going to adjust width and height. So we want it to take up 100% the entire view port. So that should be fine. We're going to remove the scroll bars, and the way to do it is to use the overflow property with the value of hidden. Let's create our div container for the ground. We'll give it a width and height in step 7. Step 8, we need another gradient, this time for ground. And again, background properties needed. We'll define the gradient type. We'll use the direction of 90 degrees. And the 2 colors are given in RGB values. We want to use a Z index of 3 for the ground and set the position to absolute. So the ground is now on top, as it has the highest Z index for now. Let's create a div container for our penguin. And we'll give it its width and height in step 11. We'll use a margin to horizontally center it, and we can use the value of auto for that. A margin top is given with a value of 75 pixels. Step 13, we need more div containers. Let's already style it. In step 14, again, width and height is needed, and we'll define a gradient via the property background. We'll need to adjust the position once more, and we'll use yet again absolute as a value for it. Up until now, everything was straightforward, but now something new is introduced. It's the skew transform function. So we can use the transform property, set it to skew, and inside we're going to define two values with the unit degree, and is going to skew the object, so in this case the left mountain div container. And you can see these are 2 dimensions. So if I adjust the values, it's going to get skewed in these two. Step 17, we need the Z index once more. Let's check the ground. We've set it to 3. For our left mount to be directly behind it, it needs a Z index of 2. Let's adjust margin. Let me check this. We need 100 for the left mountain, and for the ground we'll need minus 58 pixels. Step 19, we need yet more div containers. Step 20, we'll style the back mountain. So we need width, height, and the background property with a gradient once more. Step 21, we need to adjust position. And we know how to do that. We need absolute as a value. So we're good here. Step 22, we're going to change the stack level. So again, we need the Z index property. It needs to be directly behind the left mountain. We've given it a Z index of 2, so the back mountain needs a Z index of 1. I believe we haven't used rotate up until now, so this should be new as well. You can use it directly as a property and set it to 45 degrees. And we'll position it manually using left and top. Let's add another div container in step 24. This is for the sun. Let's give it a width, a height, and a background color of yellow. We need the position of absolute for it. And with the border radius we can make it a circle. We only need the value of 50% for it. So this makes every corner have this radius, and that creates a circle. So now we need to reposition it. We'll use top and right. Let me read it carefully. We'll have to position it so that these edges are off screen. So we need -75 for each. And now we should be good here. Step 28. Another div container is needed, this time for the penguin head. And we also add the penguin body. Step 29. We'll adjust the position for the penguin, but this time we'll use relative. And we need to adjust the stack level, so Z index is needed. It has to appear in front of the ground. And ground was Z index 3, so we need a 4 for our penguin. So that way it's going to stay on top of the ground. Let us style the penguin head first with width and height, and we'll need once more a gradient. Let me adjust the width here. I've misread something. The width should be half of its parents. So we need 50% instead of 45. This was only for the height. Step 31. We'll have to adjust the border radius. So we want to make it round. 70% for the top, so these are the first two values, and 65% for the bottom, which would be third and fourth value. You can see that right here. If I exaggerate these values, so it goes clockwise from the top left, then top right, and bottom left. These are the four values that we have added here. Step 32. We'll start the penguin body with height and gradient. But this time the gradient has to be at specific positions. For 0%, 25% and 67%, so you write it like this. We've used that in a previous course section. I don't really recall which it was, but we've done that before. We need the border radius yet again. The values are given. So once more, this is clockwise, starting from top left. Step 34. We want to target all descendant elements of the penguin element and give them a position of absolute. You can write it like this. We'll target the class of the penguin and then use this universal selector. So this will target all of the descendants of right here, this div container, thanks to the star icon. And if we now position it to absolute, the head and the body will be positioned like this. Now we'll manually adjust the position for the head first, so top and left is needed. And now the penguin body. Step 37. Once again, the stack level has to be adjusted. Let me check. There's the body. It doesn't have a Z index, so therefore it by default 0. And we want to have the head to appear in front of it, so we'll just give it a Z index of 1 and it should appear in front of it. Step 38. We need a pseudo selector here. Let me read it carefully. It needs to be the first child of the penguin body. And we want to set the content property to an empty string. So what we need is the .penguin-body class and then this before pseudo selector. And we'll set the content to these empty quotation marks. And then we should be good here. So what have we done? Let's go to the index. Here's our penguin body. And by using this pseudo element, we have, you could say, created this first child of it. Let us reposition it, and I'm pretty sure we're going to style it in the next steps. Then it's going to become more clear what this actually is. Right here in step 40, we'll give it width, height, and background color, and then we can finally see it. And here it is. So it's right behind the head, but on top of the body. And this is what this pseudo selector this before has created. We'll reposition it now. We'll use the border radius on it to make it round. We want to increase the transparency by 30%, but the transparency property doesn't work in CSS, so we'll have to use the opacity, and opacity is the opposite of transparency, so it's 1 minus the transparency, therefore we need 70% for the opacity. So you can write it like this. Let's go to step 44. We need 2 more div elements for the face. Step 45. We'll style the face with height and the background color white. And once again, we need border radius here in step 46. Let's move on to 47. We'll adjust the position. And now we'll use second classes on both face divs for left and right. We want to target the face element with the left class, and the way to do it is .face.left. Be careful not to include any spaces here. So you want to exactly write it like this. If you have a space, that's a different thing. We want to position it 5% to the left. And now we position the other one to the right. So we need .face.right and change the property to right. And now we've got these 2 face elements that we can actually see. Now we need to create the chin. .52. Let's style the chin again with height and background color is needed. Let's reposition the chin. And we need the border radius yet again. Go to step 54. And we want to create a variable. Best way to do that is to put it in a root selector. So we are here in the first code line of our CSS. and use minus minus penguin minus face, and we'll set it to the value of white. And now we can replace this variable. Let me check, what do we need? Definitely on the face and maybe on the body. So here it is. We need var, parentheses, and then paste the variable name. On the chin we had white, and I believe on the body somewhere right here in the gradient. So we can change that as well. But that should be it. So you have to replace it 3 times. Step 56. We need more div containers, this time for the eyes. So we use the eye class on both, and then left and right for each. Step 57. We'll style the eye with height, background color, you know that already. It's the same procedure. We'll reposition it and use border radius yet again. We'll need the left eye, so .i.left, to select only this div container that has both classes. We'll reposition it to the left, and we'll do the same for the right eye, but this time we need the property right. We'll create specific div containers for the eyelids in step 60. Step 61. Again, we'll use with height and a background color to style it, but this time we are directly going to use a variable. So for the background color value, we need var parentheses and then the minus minus penguin minus face. And now again we'll reposition it and use border radius. Step 63. Below our right eye, we'll add the next div container. And what do we need here? It's a class of blush. And we need 2, so left and right once again. In step 64, we'll style it. We'll have to reposition it and give it round corners. And now we're going to target these two individually with .blush.left for the first one and .blush.right for the second one. Step 67. We'll add more div containers below the blush right. And this time it's for the beak. And I guess we need two. One for top, one for bottom. Step 68. We'll style the beak. Width, height. We don't need width in this case, I'm sorry. So height, background color, but we need the border radius again. Step 69. We'll target the top beak. And here we'll add the width and reposition it. Step 70, we're going to target the bottom one. So .beak.bottom. And let me read it carefully. We need width of what? Like 4%. But it has to be 4% smaller than the top beak. So not 4%, but we need 16%. So here's 20% for the top beak. Minus 4 is obviously 16. 5% further from the top and 2% further from the left of its parent. So we need top 65% and left 42%. If I'm not mistaken, this should work. It certainly looks like it fits, and it does work. So we can move on to step 71 and add another div for the shirt this time. It has to be before the penguin body, so we are in code line 30. Step 72. We want to add this emoji, so a heart icon. And we can just copy paste this inside of a div container, and here it appears. So there's nothing special to do to make that happen. You also need a paragraph right here, and the value is given, it's I space CSS. Now let's target it in the CSS. So we need the dot shirt selector, the class selector. We'll change font size, font family. We need a fallback, and we'll adjust the font weight. So for font family, you write Helvetica, and then comma, and the fallback, which is sans minus serif. Step 75. Our font weight has also affected our icon, so the heart looks a little bit different because we've added the font weight to our shirt. And the div container with the class shirt, it not only contains the I CSS but also our icon. So we can target that by using .shirt and then div. So our div container inside, and then set the font weight to normal. You can see that if I get rid of it, it's going to appear a little bit thicker, and if I add normal, it's a little bit thinner. So we're targeting this class shirt, and the div inside we are only going to target at this, so our heart icon. Step 76. More positioning. We need top and left, values are given. Again, repositioning here in step 77. But we also have to adjust the stacking order. So we'll have to check the Z index once again. It has to appear above the penguin body. So let me check what the body had. Here it is. It doesn't have any, so the Z index is 0 by default. Therefore, we want to have it above. So we can, for example, give it a Z index of 1. We'll move on to step 78. We'll add a color. So this is not the background color, this is just the color of the font that we're using. Step 79, we need more div containers for the feed this time. So we need 2, both have the class foot, and for each, either left or right, as the second class. Step 80, we're going to style the feed now. So with a background color once again. Step 81, we need the top position and the border radius yet again. Step 82, we create a new variable, penguin corner, and it should be orange, if I'm not mistaken here. We want to replace all relevant property values with it. So it's certainly here in the center of the face and the feet. Let me scroll down. Here it is for the beak. And the feet are right here, almost at the bottom. Step 83. I will reposition the left and right feet to the left and right. I've made a typo here, but now it should be good. And we want to rotate it now in step 84. So you can use, we've done that before, rotate as a property and just add the value in degrees. Step 85. For now the feet are on top. So we'll check the Z index for the body. It was 0. To make them appear behind the body, we need a Z index of -1. Now we'll create the arms. So we need more div containers. Step 87, we'll style the arm with height, and we're going to use a gradient again for the background. The values are given, so direction 90 degrees, gray is the first color and the ending color is an RGB color. Let's add a new variable in step 88. It's going to be gray, and then we're going to replace the values in all of these selectors so far. So maybe here in the head. Let me scroll through it. So here's gray in the head. And here we can leave that for the body, but right here for the element before the body. And on the arm we've used gray, so let's replace that as well. Step 89. We're going to reposition the arms so that we have a left and right arm. Step 90. We need a transform origin here. We've used that, I believe, in the last section where we have created this Ferris wheel. So to put it in the top left corner we need a 0 and 0%. So we're on the left arm right now, and by doing this we've now repositioned, you could say, the rotation center to the point right here on the top left. We need to rotate it and invert the x-axis of the left arm in step 91. So how can we do that? We can use the transform property, then rotate, it's 130 degrees, and then scale x. And for scale x, to invert it, we'll just use -1. So this is what creates this inversion. Let us rotate the right arm, rotate 45 degrees. But let me read, it's counterclockwise, so we'll need minus 45 degrees obviously. Step 93. And again we need the border radius for the arm. Both arms will be now adjusted. Let's both share this arm class. And again, the Z index is needed here in step 94. It has to be behind the penguin body. I believe the penguin body had a Z index of 0, but let me check it to be sure. So to be behind it, we need a Z index for the arm of -1, for example. Are we good here? Step 95. Now we are adding the animation. We've done that in the last section with the fast wheel. So it's add keyframes, which is the keyword. And then we'll give the animation a name, in this case wave. We want to have it at 10, 20, 30 and 40%. And step 97, we'll adjust it right here for 10%. We want to have a rotate of 110 degrees. And we want to retain the scaling of the left arm. So we've already used scale x -1 to invert it. And as we want to retain it, we'll add it here as well. So let me write transform, then rotate. And afterwards scale x and -1. So it's the same code line that we've used here, but in this case with a 110 degree value. Let me copy paste this for 20% and I'll change it to 130. Step 99, we want to repeat this pattern. So we need 110 and 130 once more. So he's going to wave 2 times per animation iteration. For now we haven't used this animation anywhere, so this is why you can't see anything happen. But here we'll add it to the left arm in step 100. So we need the animation property. Afterwards we'll add the name, which was wave. We have the animation last for 3 seconds, so that's the duration. It should be infinite, so it should repeat itself. And we need a linear timing function. Linear comes before infinite. And now we should be good. Let me check, I've made a mistake somewhere. But here's a typo. We want to have infinite. So this was my mistake. But now we should be good. And he's waving already. So everything works. Step 101. We want to target the penguin when it is active. So you can just write it like this. Dot penguin, the class, and active. And we want to scale it up by 50%. So we use the transform property and then scale it by 1.5. So when we click on it now, it works. And scaling 1.5, it simply means that it's 150% of its original size. When you set it to 1.0, it won't do anything. You can see 2.5 more than doubles the size, and a scale of 1 doesn't do anything. So if you want to scale it up by 50%, it needs to be 1.5. Step 102. Alright, when it's active, we want to change the cursor to not allowed. So for now the cursor just remains the same when I click on it. But if I add not allowed and I click on it, you can see the cursor icon now changes. Step 103. Okay, we'll use the transition property, but specifically the duration. So by giving it 1 second, it's now a little bit slower. You can see that when I change it to 10 seconds, it's very slow. You could also use milliseconds, for example, which would make it very fast. In this case, we need 1 second, and we need a timing function of ease in and out. So that is going to change the acceleration inside of the animation. In this case, it's an upscale. So by easing in and out, you can see that at the start and end point, the speed gets accelerated or decelerated. And we need a transition delay of 0 milliseconds. So when we click on it, it starts directly. If I make it 100, for example, it's a little bit lagging. And we should be good here. Step 104, and this is already the final one. So we've gotten through it way faster than I thought. What do we need here? We need our calc, and let me read it carefully. The height of the viewport. So we need 100 VH minus the height of the penguin. So what was that? Let me check it. It's a dot penguin class. And here it is. It was 300 pixels. So we need it right here. And this should be the last step. So everything works. We've got the animation, we've got the upscaling when we click on it. And we've got right here our keyframes.wave animation. If you're wondering why we've used 10 and 40%, the remaining 60% it just puts in a break, or it just rests, but then it starts the animation over and over again as we've set it to infinite. So we're almost done here. Now there's only one certification project left, the personal portfolio webpage. As always, go through it yourself, and if you get stuck, refer to my walkthrough. I hope this video was helpful, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.